Brutal, beautiful, and frequently buggy. It's survival games. Whether you're chopping trees, eating raw fish, or trying not to die from thirst while standing next to the lake, this year's bringing a whole bunch of new survival games to test your patience, resourcefulness, and emotional stability. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, the top 20 new survival games of 2025. Starting off at number 20, it's Breathedge 2, because one galactic disaster wasn't enough, so Red Ruin Softworks brings us a sequel to the misadventures of the man, and pitting him against even more intergalactic absurdities. The Breathedge Corporation is, of course, nefariously attempting to do everything that's evil. You're here to stop it. You're back to manage your spaceship, upgrade it, and occasionally do, actually fairly useless things that only serve to amuse the player. I'm sure the actual astronaut is somewhat frustrated by it, in fact, but that's good, because you're the player. You're not the astronaut. Breathedge 2 is slated for release sometime this year. We don't have an exact date for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series. There is a demo. It's not exactly straightforward to access at this point because they took it down after the Next Fest, the Steam thing, but I'm sure there's some way to find it. Moving on to number 19, it is Pathologic 3. Honestly, with Pathologic, it's kind of a fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. I don't know how I got fooled a third time situation. You're a doctor, you're in a plague-ridden quaint village, and your job is basically to stop a deadly disease and, save people. Now, if you're aware of Pathologic, it's a very punishing game. It's very sardonic in a lot of ways. And this time around, they're adding a time travel mechanic, and I don't know exactly how this is going to affect everything, but it's a very interesting choice. Obviously, if you're making a third one of these games, you do have to start adding things to it, so it's interesting, and I wonder how it's going to turn out. Pathologic 3 Quarantine is a little teaser that came out on March 17th, kind of an appetizer to the main course of misery awaiting you in the full game, which is going to come out later this year on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series. And number 18 is Quite a Ride. It's basically a first-person fog simulator, except lots of other things besides fog. One can survive fog, but fog does make it difficult to survive, doesn't it? Don't know what you're about to run into, or how good it is at killing you. So, interesting premise, you have to say. You have a phone, your phone's battery drains over time, and it only recharges when you are cycling. So, in order to keep your phone from falling, dead, you have to cycle. You have to pedal, and then while you're doing that, you're decrypting cryptic messages from, somebody. And that's basically what you're trying to figure out. You got deserted towns, you got laboratories, discoveries, a mundo, and kind of a Death Stranding type players change the environment thing going on. Quite a Ride looks like a real different game. We don't have an exact release date for it, but it is coming sometime in 2025 to the PC. And number 17 is Rooted. This is a post-apocalyptic survival game in which humanity's collective failure is more or less what they're calling bacteriological warfare, which is as bad as it sounds. You do not want to be knee-deep in bacteria. That's what you have to be knee-deep in, though, when you go into urban centers. You gotta have proper protection when you're going in there, and guess what? You're gonna have to go in there. So that's how you rummage for stuff. It's also how you hunt for things, blah, blah, blah. Bob's your uncle. It's a survival game. You know what the deal is here. It's a pretty interesting looking one, though. Nature, it's kind of the enemy in most of survival games, but it's a very different way in this one. We kind of effed around and found out with nature, We don't have an exact release date, but it's coming sometime this year for PC. And number 16 is Under a Rock. I don't know why you're out in a hot air balloon, but it meets its untimely demise, and that puts you, down on the ground, dealing with what lives under a rock. Except all the wildlife is pretty oversized here. You got a procedurally generated island where you're going to be crafting and surviving in a game that supports up to 10 players. You got your base building, you got your decoration, you got your Neanderthals and your big scary animals. What else could you ask for? Under a Rock is coming sometime in 2025 on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series. And number 15 is Lost Rift. Developers People Can Fly, the masterminds you know behind Bulletstorm and Painkiller, bring us a first-person survival shooter with co-op PvE as well as high-stakes PvPvE extraction gameplay. I know the word extraction is getting a little bit dirty, but this is a fairly interesting-looking game if you ask me. I mean, you don't really usually combine survival with extraction, right? But you're going on expeditions, going out for the loot. I don't know. I guess they're not that far apart in terms of what these genres are, but it looks cool. The island you're stranded on sure does look serene, but obviously that's not going to be the case. And once again, People Can Fly are the guys who brought us Bulletstorm and Painkiller. I think they know what they're doing. Definitely doesn't look like the other survival games either. Kind of gives off a weirdly innocent vibe that I'm sure it's ready to violate at any given moment. Lost Rift is coming to PC early access later in the year. At number 14 is Outward 2. In a gaming landscape littered with chosen ones and power fantasy pro tags, Outward 2 dares to ask, what if you're just an average dude? 9 Dot Studio brings us a sequel to the cult classic open world RPG, plopping you into a world that doesn't care less about you. It's set 50 years after the original. You got a bunch of crazy weather. You got a bunch of crazy fauna, I guess is the right word. You got monsters. You got combat, you got dual wielding of your weapons and fluid attacks. It looks fun to me. And hey, you can also get indigestion. Hopefully you don't have too many oopsies like that, though. Outward 2 is in development for PC and apparently also going to be for consoles as well. We'll be looking for that later in the year. And number 13 is Wild West Pioneers. This was a survival game in the way that Frostpunk is. It's a city builder, but it's also a survival game. As you might have guessed from the name, it takes place in the frontier days of the Americas. You're going to be putting together residential and commercial buildings and appointing mayors and sheriffs and carefully constructing a team to manage a city that has to survive in harsh conditions. Remember, the Wild West really didn't have any infrastructure. You kind of just went out there and you either died or you didn't. That's kind of what you're doing. You got workers, you got builders, you got cowpoke and all that crap. Wild West Pioneers has an early access release coming on PC later in the year, so dust off that cowboy hat and get ready to build a city. Moving on to number 12, it's Terminator Survivors. And you thought Judgment Day was going to be the thing that you needed to stop. Hey, guess what? You didn't stop it. You're surviving. The whole Skynet Judgment Day thing happened 4 years ago. Humanity was nearly annihilated. And, well, Skynet's machines are kind of on the prowl and crap. You got T-800s everywhere. And that's going to be one of your biggest hurdles to surviving in this survival game called Terminator Survivors. Allegedly, they really want to make it so that if you decide to tango with a T-800, you're probably not going to survive, so stealth is your friend. Not just stealth, though, there's also all the crap you find in the world. Terminator Survivors was going to release in October of last year, but it's expected early access release is going to hit Steam sometime later this year. And number 11 is Renown, because who needs guns when you got pointy sticks, right? You like the chaos of survival games, but don't like having assault rifles and other things that, you know, make life work out in a post-apocalyptic survival scenario that so many of these games are typically surrounded by. Well, this is a survival game in a medieval world. You're going to be doing your typical gathering of resources, building of fortifications, etc., but in this one, you got skill-based melee combat that looks pretty cool. Honestly, it's not exactly Kingdom Come, but I feel like if Kingdom Come didn't happen, you wouldn't be seeing this game. There's also an obvious chivalry nod here, I think. It's a really cool-looking game, honestly. Sometimes I think that these games are built around, like, what would be a great game to just play forever? Yeah, Chivalry or one of those games, you know? It's hitting early access later this year on PC. There has been a couple of demos of this game, but I have not been able to get one, and they don't have it just out there. They're kind of community-oriented demos. It looks cool, though. And number 10 is Into the Dead, Our Darkest Days. Hey, ever thought about heading to Texas in 1980? But a version of it where there's a bunch of undead instead of, I don't know, mixtapes? I don't know. I'm sure there's plenty of mixtapes or whatever, but there's way more undead. You're gonna be dealing with so much more undead than you are gonna be dealing with mixtapes. Look, I don't need to tell you what a survival game is. A resource scavenging, crafting of weapons, blah, blah, blah. This is, of course, a side-scrolling game, which makes it a bit different. This game is just coming out in early access, like right now. So if you kind of like Fallout Shelter or one of those types of games, but you want to lean a little harder into the like survival elements of it, and also a lot of Texas, like there's, oh boy, is this a Texas game. Into the Dead, Our Darkest Days is probably where to go. There is a demo available on Steam. If you like the demo, like I said, the game is like coming out like now. Obviously we record these a few days prior to when they're released, but the demo's fun. I would definitely give it a spin. It's on Steam. And number 9 is Atomfall. Hey, you like Fallout? You like that recent Fallout mod where it was London? You like quirky games that use a familiar reference point as a jumping off and give you something, I mean, fairly unique? Well, if that's what you like, then you will like Atomfall. I would highly recommend Jake's Before You Buy. It's one of those games where, for the people it's made for, it is a lot of fun. It's not without its quirks, though, so again, I would definitely check out that video. It came out back on March 27th for the PlayStations, the Xboxes, and the old PC. If you're interested in playing it before buying it, there is a demo. It's a good one. There's a lot of fun to be had. It is not without its quirks. And number 8 is RuneScape Dragonwilds. And you thought RuneScape had milked every possible angle. Haha. Well, no. Dragonwilds is a spin-off, a standalone co-op survival. Brings players to the forgotten continent of Atomfall. And dragons have, have woken up there and stuff sucks. The dragons are making things not so nice. So you and 3 other friends, of course, are doing survival stuff. You're doing it in a skill system reminiscent of classic RuneScape, which is, I think, a pretty interesting idea in a survival context. I think it's fun because a lot of the time you're not surviving with magical powers. This time you are. I'm there for it. RuneScape Dragonwilds is going to be landing on PC in early access sometime this spring, and the full release is coming sometime next year. So, I don't know. This is one to watch. It's definitely a different path for the RuneScape devs. And number 7 is Dune Awakening, which is, Dune the survival game. You're out on Arrakis and you're doing your stuff. You're Duning. Heading out with one of those things up your nose and you're battling giant sandworms and all that. It's all in the name of spice, man. It is, of course, set in an alternate timeline. You're in a civil war between the various houses, and your mission is to locate the elusive Freemen and awaken the sleeper. It's not that straightforward, of course. This is a survival game. It's an online multiplayer survival game on top of that. You got PvP, you got PvE, you got politics, you got, of course, a very large, vast world occupied by yourself and others. This is an MMO after all. Dune Awakening is landing on May 20th for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series. And number 6 is Subnautica 2. Hey, if you didn't need to sleep ever again, they got more monsters for you to go find in the water. Freak you out. I mean, the stuff that you find in Subnautica, it's nightmare fuel. Subnautica 2 puts you on a new planet, gives you co-op multiplayer, up to 4 players. I don't know, honestly, that's enough. I don't need to actually be told anything else, but there's plenty more going on here. There's a DNA modification mechanic now. You can adapt to your environment. You can steal abilities from the planet's indigenous life forms. That's, of course, fun for everyone. Subnautica 2 is coming early access this year to PC and Xbox Series. It is an Xbox Game Pass game, so yeah, if you got that, you can be playing it for free. Moving on to number 5, it's State of Decay 3. This is an interesting series from Microsoft. If you recall in the other State of Decay games, it's not just about surviving, you're also building a community. And, teamwork is often not really what you think of when you think of survival games. Oftentimes you're alone, you're solitary, and if you are in a zombie apocalypse, it's usually other people are not something you want to come across for the most part. But now, this is a series that I think is maybe a little more realistic. You would need other people to survive. It's that simple. This one is landing on Xbox Series and PC. There is speculation it won't make it out this year. I mean, it is State of Decay, so really who knows. I've got my fingers crossed. I would of course love to play the third game in this series this year and not next year, but we'll see. Moving on to number 4, it's Jurassic Park Survival. Saber Interactive is bringing us a single-player action-adventure game that picks up actually the day after the 1993 film's event. Now, you're not taking the role of any of the people who were involved, at least in the main cast. You are an InGen scientist, and you got left on the island. Again, the island that Jurassic Park literally just happened on. It's the day after. Now, Saber hasn't been super vocal about what's going on with this game, but honestly, it's kind of, if you're a video game lover and a Jurassic Park lover, kind of the best possible version of a Jurassic Park survival game, or at least it sounds like it on paper. I do hope that that comes to fruition. It is coming to PC, PS5, and Xbox Series sometime late this year. And number 3 is the Road to Vostok. Hey, if you like societal collapse as well as borders, that's where you're here. The Finland-Russia border, a border zone where it's apparently quite hostile. This one comes to us from a solo Finnish developer, and for a guy, pretty impressive in all seriousness. The guy making it is a former army lieutenant, and he is branding it as a hardcore single-player survival FPS. This is a game where allegedly we'll be getting a version of it later in the year, but there are various public demos that are actually available on Steam, keeping in mind that it's not like a prologue or anything like that. It's more how the game is going to play type stuff. Road to Vostok is coming to PC later this year. And number 2, it's Light No Fire, Hello Games' follow-up to the vast No Man's Sky. Rather than give us an entire universe, they're giving us a single planet to deal with. It is not a small single planet, however. The actual mass of this planet will be equivalent to our actual planet. So if you intended to walk it, it's not going to happen. There is probably going to be a lot of walking, but I would not try to walk the whole planet. You will probably spend the time that it would take to walk our actual planet doing that. This is a full-blown multiplayer game right from the start. They've kind of learned some issues are best solved before launch. I think Hello Games knows that better than anybody. However, they're pretty damn good at keeping No Man's Sky updated. I hope that this doesn't spread them too thin so that they don't keep updating No Man's Sky or can't update both at the same time. This is a pretty looking game. You can definitely tell it was made by the guys that made No Man's Sky, and well, it should be interesting. We don't have a specific release date, but allegedly we're going to see it in late 2025. And finally, at number 1, it is BLACKFROST, The Long Dark 2. The Long Dark is a super interesting game where a lot of stuff happens real fast at times, and Hinterland is upping the ante with this second game. So the first game is a single player, kind of lonely experience. This one is a co-op. If you've ever played the original, you know that skiing and survival actually go together pretty well. This one gives us a new psychological dimension with this will to live system they're adding. Now you're not just managing like hunger and cold and crap like that, you're also managing your existential dread. Yeehaw, right? BLACKFROST is supposedly entering early access later in the year on the PC. I do have 3 bonus games for you. The first is Death Stranding 2 on the Beach. Now, Death Stranding is of course not strictly a survival game. It is also not strictly any kind of game. It's a whatever the hell, I don't know what the hell it is. This does look a little bit more action oriented than the first, and it's not too far away. It's coming to the PS5 on June 26th. Second, we have Days Gone Remastered, an enhanced version of the 2019 biker zombie adventure that did not get its due. To be frank, this is a game that's getting kind of a critical reappraisal, and it deserves it very much so. If you already have the PS4 version, you'll be able to get the PS5 next-gen version for $10. And finally, Lost Viking, Kingdom of Women. You're a guy named Ragnold, you're headed eastward, and you get stuck in the Kingdom of Women. Now, depending on who you are, that's either an incredibly good thing or an incredibly bad thing. I'll tell you this right now, though, there is a demo available. Play the demo if you're interested. This one's landing in fall of this year. And that's all for today. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. So click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications. And as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter and book me on Cameo at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.